Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to day 10. Can you believe it? We are in our 10th day of presentations from Regenera Travel Summit, from a dream to reality. And today we are going to have a very special guest. We are going all over to the old continent. We are going to go to London, where we are going to meet Elisa Spampinato. Elisa is going to be handling a topic that I love, which is storytelling. And she's going to talk to us about what a powerful tool it is to restore and empower our local narratives for our communities. So I'm going to leave Elisa. Elisa, welcome. Thank you for your time, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Susanna, for introduction, and thank you for the invitation to this important event. So I'm here, and yes, I would like to share some slides just to accompany my presentation. And here, the idea today is to share some thoughts, give some food for thoughts as well, and some provocative idea to think about storytelling and about our communities and see and let's say think together to rethink the way we do tourism and marketing as well. So first of all, the title, I will come back to that very soon, but rediscovering communities through their own stories. This is what I call it, community storytelling. So it's me. My name is Elisa. I, start traveling when long time ago, starting with the globe next to my bedside when I was very young, dreaming about South America, and for a reason that I really cannot explain. But a couple of decades after that, I was traveling and living in Brazil actually for a while. And since then, my work with communities, it started before, but more when I was in Brazil itself. And then since then, I started telling the story, and over time, I became what I call a storytelling consultant, especially for community tourism, because my focus are the communities, a traditional community around the world. And with them, that I reflect on how, what are the stories that actually we hear and about them, and what are the stories that they actually are sharing. So I'm a consultant for community tourism. I work with government, I work with tour operators and destination managing marketing company and DMC and DMO as well, to help rediscover and redefine the image of a country through the stories of the young communities. And I do this through different way, but mainly I do them with the community. This is what is really important. So they are the center of the narrative. I'm an anthropologist originally, and my background is in anthropology. And what is an interest for me is that the culture is the different local cultures are recognized, valued, and appreciated in the first place from their own community, but also from the global stage and from the tourists in eventually. So I'm a connector, I'm a storyteller, so I connect tourists, responsible travelers with the local community, and community between community as well in different part of the world. I work in South America, but also in Africa, and I started working in India and in Asia in general, Nepal especially, and India last year. But online and virtually also, I work already with 30 countries and communities from different countries. So I talk about community tourism all the time, and shifting towards marketing in the last 5 years, because this is what I realize is the missing link. Um, because community, they have their own project, working often in collaboration with tour operators, also supported by government in a way and another. But there is very little shared in terms of marketing. So in the marketing of the community tourism, the perspective is usually comes from outside. And this is what I try to change and try to complement and try to enrich. So I work with different organizations already around the world, and these are some, just a few of them. But if you need to know more, just you can go to me or Google my name and see what comes up. And but what we hear because we here to talk again about storytelling. So now is this became a buzzword. I had to realize. I mean, I realized that although I've been doing it for many, many years, but it's true. We cannot deny that since pandemic it became a buzzword, right? But let's look at and what is the power of storytelling? Why storytelling is so powerful? So what where this is power come from? I would say, first of all, because it's always been there. Think about it. Without stories, tourism wouldn't exist. Why should I go to a place far from home that I don't know, and with a different food, different costume, traveling for long hours? Why should I go there if not because I heard a story about the place, about the climate, about the food, about culture? We travel because we know, we heard stories about different places. So storytelling is at the base of tourism. Without that, tourism wouldn't even exist. So its power come from that. Also come from the fact that in a way or another, the idea is that it provides authenticity. So stories are provide that authentic. And I put in bracket for a certain reason, but there is an immediate reaction, right? That storytelling gives something authentic. So we're talking about something real, something that exists, something that have a story as a story. So these also from this comes power, right? Another important thing is that we, especially after since pandemic, but I will say since ever, we recognize the importance of personal stories. We recognize how knowing, connecting, right, with the people, with their personal story is important, and this gives to storytelling an additional power. So but what is storytelling really? Well, let's go deeper into that. And the way I define it is an art. So this means that it's something that you know acquire just by clicking a button. It's something that you acquire with practice, and it has skills and in its time. But is an art of telling stories. Telling is in bracket because telling, it can apply a different kind of communication. I can telling orally a story. I can tell a story by writing. I can tell a story through a picture or a video. So, but the whole point is that these stories creates engagement in the audience, right? Create an emotional connection, and here, this is a superpower of storytelling. It creates that bond. It creates that anchor that make us heard. So in this context, I would like to bring something that is, I think, is very crucial for for this time. That there is a difference, is a very important difference between positive impact storytelling that very gladly I see more and more being mentioned, even between journalists themselves is so the positive impact storytelling is something that we start doing it as an industry, which is great, and I'm totally happy about it. We've seen different people going and understanding the impact of project or an experience at telling that story. But what I'm here to talk about is the inclusive storytelling. And what is the difference between these two terms is simply the difference between content and the voices. So when we talk about positive impact storytelling, we're talking about the content. So the stories that we talk about have a positive impact. But when we talk about inclusive storytelling, which is what I'm here to talk about, I'm talking about the voices, who is telling those stories, rather than what the story is about, if it makes sense. So the difference between so positive impact storytelling is the stories that we tell when we go on holiday. We realize that we engaged with something deeper, important, and rich in tradition. So is us telling the story of a place we're visiting, or what is behind those images. Now that we have more experiential tourism, that's been 10 years more or less, is something that we are now used to. We want tourists, and we general we want to do more experiences, and through that we see the importance, if you have the chance to talk with the locals, and having an immersive experience and a tour guide that actually explains what that means. Yes, that we can do impact, positive impact storytelling when we tell those stories of experience that we had. But when we talk about inclusive storytelling, is actually the people in the local community, they are telling their own stories themselves from their perspective, and sharing them with the bigger audience. Now, this doesn't happen that easily, and doesn't happen without issues sometimes, and conflict. Um, but why I mentioned the inclusive storytelling, why I chose that adjective, because of DEI, because diversity, equality, or equity, and inclusion. And when we talk about inclusion, I believe that we're not only talking about gender equality or diverse mobility or ability. We don't. It's not only neurodiversity. It's not only that, but it's also the inclusion of local communities. And when I say local communities, of course, I'm referring to the indigenous, rural, and traditional communities around the world. The inclusion is the inclusion of other narratives, right? But also the inclusion of the others' narratives. So the narratives of the other, in anthropological sense, of the person that is different from me, right? So this inclusion is very, I would say we are still an early stage in our industry. Um, and I'm saying it like with the best, understanding that a lot of has been done, but still a lot needs to be done. If you haven't yet listened to the Danger of a Single Story, the TEDx from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, you should, because this is not a recent one. You should listen to this and to other stories that or speech when we talk about cultural stereotypes and the power of community storytelling. So the way we picture, and here using Africa as a reference, because for me is one of the, well, for me, not only for me, but is one of the, I believe that is one of the most understood, um, less understood continent and in the world. And in terms of culture, when I traveled to Africa, I realized that how many layers are there, they are not seen, right? So the cultural stereotypes, this is the risk, because storytelling is a powerful tool, as I mentioned earlier, for the reason I mentioned earlier, but also can be a double blade weapon, right? Because if we know aware of the cultural depth, the storytelling can become, so can only reinforce stereotypes about a place, about the people living in the place, and this can create conflict and clashes rather than encounters, again in an anthropological term. So this is something to think about, right? Coming back to the title, why I call it Rediscovering Communities Through Their Own Stories. You can see that the keywords are there, right? Everyone now talks about communities, everyone talks about stories. But I wanted to add two other concepts in there. So the rediscovering, just meaning that we need to discover again, maybe because we don't know enough or we haven't really seen what actually those community are. And we need to do that through their own stories. It's not our story, right? Or the one that we received um, over the, I would say centuries sometimes, but over the decades. So what we think about countries like Mexico or Chile or Argentina, the first image that comes to our mind most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, is not representative of what actually the reality is in the place. And I blame here the way the destination are being marketed on only speaking in a within the tourism industry, which is a global industry. So the way we picture and we yeah, we present a country internationally is usually most of the time very reductive. I understand the reason why we need to keep it simple and present in a standard way what a country is, and we know that every country is very complex. But the bad side of that simplicity is that is reductive, right? A reduction in complexity, a reduction in cultural complexity, and identity as well. So we need to rediscover communities, but we had to do it through their own stories, not us. We had to listen to them. So this is what I call community storytelling. So community storytelling is the art of telling the stories of the local communities with them to share their narratives and perspective. So it's not about us, it's about their story from their perspective. And why this matters. This for me matters, and always mattered, and matters because the community matters, right? The communities are the one uh, that matter first of all. And if we're talking about the community, it should be with them, not about them, right? So tourists wants to go to the community now more than ever. They want to do experience with the community. They want to immerse themselves in a different and environment, cultural environment, speak different languages, and be in a place that they're not familiar with. Support indigenous community. This is all everything that comes from recent studies, and also I haven't mentioned here the latest study of booking in last year that actually shows that this percentage is growing steadily. So people want to do more and more of this. So it's important because tourists want it. It's important since tourists want to visit community, we want to avoid exploitative approaches. We had to present it in a way that is representative of the local authentic reality, right? Um, and you see, this is as I see Vienna also commenting this. Yes, this is not unusual. I mean, the tour operators are registering constantly, and travel agency as well, new requests. Also, people want to know, knowing what happened in the past, they wanted to know how the money is being spent, how the community benefits from it, because they know that in the past have been a lot of appropriation, and not only cultural appropriation but also financial appropriation. And so they want to know more, they want to see more. This is what actually I call, this is a reality. The reality is an iceberg, and I work below water. I work below water because what we see, these are the stories that are visible to travelers. Travelers hear stories about a place, and the reason why they want to go there because they've seen images, they heard stories. But trust me, the reality is that there are many more stories there that tourists, and they not reach the tourists because they're hidden, they untold, and or they forgotten as well. So all this iceberg, underwater, is a richness that c- communities, if they decided to work in tourism, they want to share, but they don't do share it because most of the time they believe that tourists don't want to hear it. So there is like a breach that needs to be built from both sides, really. As we will always I say that I work on both sides of a breach. Community also need to recognize the value of their own stories. But since they look at themselves through the eyes of a tourist, they look at themselves as having little value because they don't speak English, because their culture is a kind of, in a way or another, inferior. That's what is believed. That's what the colonialism has done, to be honest, to them as to us. So we had to remember something really, really basic. Stories are never neutral. There is no story that is neutral because there is always someone telling the story, right? So therefore, storytelling as an art is not neutral either. We should forget that, oh, the story that we heard about a country are something that are neutral. They're not, because there is always a someone which is, is telling the story, right? We have to identify who this someone is. That's why I believe that what we need to reflect on is on are the four questions, really. They want to call the four crucial questions, because we had to reflect on what stories are we telling tourism. So what kind of story are we sharing about a destination? Are we actually sharing only the story of a certain part of history, or about the beaches, or about we had to actually sit down and realize and asking this question to ourselves in the first place, as a not only what people involved in marketing, people that work in tourism. So what are the stories that we're sharing in tourism? The other important question is, who do we tell those stories to? Who is the audience, and who are the people that we want here? Not all in terms of demographic only, but also in terms of, are we looking at people that are respectful of culture? Are we looking at people that are responsible travelers, in terms that they know that they shouldn't impose their own rules on the place they go, because this, for most of the time, is being the reality. Uh, so is also, yes, it's depending on which countries traveler we want in our country, in our destinations. These are active questions that we should answer, because if you don't answer it, we already answer it, but we're not aware of it. This is like about awareness, right? So we can change the direction. The other important question is, why are we telling the stories? And this has to do with the purpose. So are we telling the stories because this can go simply from the um, selling a new product or expanding the market, but also, what is the real reason we're telling the stories? Do we want tourists to become informed and become open-minded and understanding better us when they arrive here? Why are we telling the stories and not others? Why are we hiding some story? So is it a conscious decision? We should be aware of it. So the why as well. But the last question, I think, is also the most important one, is who are the storytellers? Who is telling the story? So, and who are the storytellers is the most important question, because I'm not saying that there should be only one kind of storyteller, right? I believe that we should open to a plurality of voices. And when we think about international uh, travelers, we have to think about international journalists, but at the same time, we have to think about complementing their vision and perspective with the local. Because if we talk about the local community and the local reality, we can't talk about them without them. So that shouldn't happen. Otherwise, we actually reiterating, we are representing cultural stereotype of a white savior um, coming to the country to give to someone that doesn't have enough. So this applies to Latin America, as Africa, as Asia. We should go beyond the colonialist mind, which is embedded in us in terms of culture. So we had to understand where it plays, and we had to anticipate it and destroy it. So that, and this starts from deciding who is the storyteller, who is telling the story of the place. simple like that. And I can tell you that based on my experience on the ground, but also online, and my extensive traveling with community, when I sit down with them, when I ask questions, and when I present the perspective that their country has, a project like on international public, they will see themselves. They see themselves in different ways. So I can tell you that I've been working with government, with community, with tour operator, with a local organization, and I see that community storytelling empowers. This is one of the first realization that I had since the moment that when I start telling the story of the community, I realize is that the community, when they start telling their own story, they see themselves from in a different perspective. They start seeing the value of themselves from outside. And so the process of telling a story, telling their own story, it empowers the participants. And this is something that I see tangible with tangible evidence every time that I go and I work. And there are many the stories that I can share about these examples. So, but that is the thing. Telling your own story empowers you because it gives you perspective to realize the value that your story, your background has, right? So this is something that is very um, gives me joy in a way because it gives me hope to see that things can change. Just the moment that you change the mirror and you change the angle, put different glasses on, you see how new realities kind of appears, right? That weren't not seen before. So the iceberg starts to become a mountain, so emerges from the water. And this is also what the regenerative tourism calls the story of a place, right? So the community storytelling as it's in itself the identity of the place because is a cultural identity, right? So the root of a place is in their stories, right? And this I use here an image of an olive plant because the olive plant only is come from not from my land, so from Italy and Sicily. So it's a very strong plant that can live for thousands of years, literally, and is a very strong, very resilient plant. And I believe that these are our roots, the cultural roots of a place, are there. um, we just need to be given space to flourish, right, and to keep being shared and be seen in its beauty. So this community storytelling is the missing part of the puzzle, the missing piece. um, Also, we have to think that community storytelling can create new economic opportunities at the destination level. Why is that? Because telling the story of a place is strictly linked to ethical marketing in a way that um, I think we need to come back to what I was saying before. Is like um, community storytelling should be the the core, right? The hardcore of the marketing when it comes to community tourism because the storytelling should share the story that will promote that experience out there. Marketing is not about selling. Marketing is about sharing the value of an experience in this case, right? So here there are something. I shared this with the research that was done. So what are the top 5 tips for ethical marketing through community storytelling? And this is mainly referring to community. So this is like the work that I share with the community enterprises I work with. Um, they have to first look at themselves. The work I do with them is first is a self-reflection or very important the importance or the value of the cultural value they represent, and so keep that at the center rather than putting the tourists in the center of their marketing. So what the tourist wants now is, well, who we are and what we want to share with them, what matters. So basically, in a nutshell, this is what actually this is about. But there are something that I use, of course, in my as a methodology when I do my workshop with them, but these are things that I share with them from the beginning, in terms of concept. Because also, talking about the economic opportunities, right? If you think from marketing perspective, using the community storytelling can give you the opportunity to share more organic product that can be introduced in the supply chain. So talking with the community, realizing what else is there that can be shared in terms of experience or product with the community, with the travelers, is an opportunity to share their value, but also to create a new commercial opportunity, right? um, Also, community storytelling helps to share more information about the biodiversity and the cultural tradition. So it's an opportunity to create the bridge to educate your future travelers why you are actually entertaining them with new information, right? So some uses are about blogs, for example, or simple social media marketing tools that helps the tourists to engage, to create that connection, and to create a bond before even be in the place, right? This is actually the effect on the marketing through the community storytelling as well. It becomes more personal when the people are presenting themselves and their own product. So this is also an opportunity to introduce, to introduce the supply chain and local partners, you as a tour operator or you as a community project have in place. So this is always, these are stories that I shared about work I've done in the Maldives with a local tour operator. They were I suggest them to talk about the supply chain, the people behind the scenes, and what they do in the responsible tourism and regenerative tourism place. So, as an opportunity to present the local suppliers. So, for a tour operator that work with the local communities, is knowing who are the tour guides, you know, who are your local farmers, the local experience providers. This is an opportunity. So using the community storytelling, include their stories in your marketing, will enrich your marketing because it will give a face, right, to the people there they will meet later on and that you're already working with, and that will also increase the trust of your future or current travelers and customer. Is a way to tell your company story, your community story. So is a way of sharing where have you come from, or like in terms of what have you done, what is your your the process that you went through, the lessons learned. So all these are opportunity to share your value, of course, right? This is kind of what in marketing we call branding, right? um it is also a great opportunity, of course, to expand your traveler perspective about the destination. So for example, as I mentioned before, in this case is the Maldives. But when we speak, we talk about a country, there are certain images that come to our mind unconsciously straight away. So, the Maldives are atolls, isolated atolls with no inhabitants in the middle of a blue crystalline sea. Well, but there are communities there. There are much more atolls with communities living in that are deserted atolls. So we don't know that because we never heard about that. We always heard story about the resorts on the Maldives, but what about the fishermen? What about the women? They play volleyball on a beach after having cooked. delicious fish next to their house in the communal, in the community premises. So it's all these stories that you never heard because no one shared them before, that help the tourists to understand that they're going to a place that has people, right? Uh, we know that automatically, logically, we know that. But if we don't think about it and we're not being encouraged to think about it, we might assume that we're going to go in a desert island and there is no one there, right? So it's all also about educating the future visitors about the local culture in different senses, right? Understanding different layers that usually is hard to communicate in one way. So through stories, you easily talk about what makes that place. So its identity is root. So general benefit of community storytelling that, as we mentioned, empowers local storytellers. So make them realize they are storytellers, reveals the important hidden stories, connects deeper to people and places, creates stronger bonds, right? Support local sustainable development because support the project they are actually working in a regenerative way and in a sustainable way for the local development, and inspires also the younger generations, which is very very important for the future of their own country, right? 'Cause there are places there, where the local the youngest, they're not there anymore. They're moving away because there is no opportunity to work, and this is not because they want to leave their hometowns and they families, but because they need to work. So, but if the young generation realize how important is their local identity, and this is also linked to new economic opportunity, of course, this will have an effect on the future of the country itself. So these are the benefit that I realize as an outcomes from the work that I do directly with them in this workshop that I organize, and I hope there could would be a future follow up from this event itself, like where we actually go, hands on creating the new stories with the community members and that have this experience. So the benefit are many, and I've been, seen and verified, put it that way. So the question is why we're not doing it then? Why don't we do it enough, put it that way? But simply because inclusive storytelling, which is, the other way of say community storytelling, it's not easy. It's hard work. Working with community requires time to build a relationship, time to build trust, trying to know each other, and there are those different languages, not only from an Indian perspective, to that needs to relate and needs to communicate. So it's hard work. It's not easy. It's not quick. It's not something you can do clicking a button. Um, and also we are not used to it, so and we are not used to it, meaning that there are no structures and system in place where we create space for these stories to emerge. um, and we believe that communities cannot do it in a way or another. They have no skills, they have no experience, they're not qualified enough, etc., etc. So that's why we end up creating farm trips, which are really really important, right? Because expose the country to a different audience. However, expensive farm trip only directed to bloggers or influencer, where that who has like very little time to see and experience a place, and we're relying on those stories only to present the country. I think this is very reductive, right? Same thing for the travel magazines. If you look where the travel magazines are and who are the people that writing them, we see there are something in common, right? There are mainly white people, a lot of women, which is not a bad thing, however. But at the same time, there are people they have they're not from the place. That was my main point is. So because this structure have been created and be traditionally supported, but I think that shouldn't be the only one. That we should complement, and we must complement those structures with new innovative ones that include what is underwater to be seen and appreciated. So positive impact storytelling is what, in a best scenario, we have when we have this um, open-minded responsible traveler coming to visit a country in the global south. But we continue not having inclusive storytelling, which is a diversity of voices from the local communities, because we believe that is not possible. But it is possible. I've seen it, I've done it. It's possible for community to acquire storytelling skills. It's possible for them to realize how important and valuable are their stories. And it's possible for them to empower themselves in the process, because this is, I've seen it. I've seen it, people growing in confidence, growing in skills over time, and becoming the ambassador of their own country. So everything starts really with a change of perspective. So for the community themselves in the first place, right? So it's looking at themselves from a different angle. Um, so I will invite you to think, what might community storytelling look like in your destination then? So try to think behind the box, try to abstract and see, okay, in reality it doesn't exist. So, or exist partially. What might this look like in your destination? And reach out to me and share that with me, because I'm curious to hear. In order then to rediscover communities through their own stories, we must start listening, find channels to share those stories, but also create new spaces where those channels are now available. It's our responsibility to become an inclusive industry, starting from the story that we share. So, the last message to you is, if you work with community tourism enterprises, you have to remember that there are many untold stories there. There are stories that they exist, but the people that own the stories, they don't believe they are important. That's why they don't share it. Um, if you would like to work with them, remember that the co-designing should also apply to marketing. It's not only co-designing of the and of the experience itself, right? Otherwise, that is not even a responsible kind of practice. You should work with the community, always should co-designing, but also the marketing should be co-designed. This is my strongest message, which I can't see much enough of this, and that's why I exist as a company to fill that gap. So we need to co-design the marketing as well. If you're a DMC, a DMO, or even a tourist board, remember, I'm sure you know, but they are the real thing. They are the thing that people want to learn, the tourists want to learn about, or want that they would come and visit, because they are the root, the cultural identity, the representative, and you should treat them as your marketing ambassador, the main marketing ambassador, not influencer from North America or UK coming. So they are your marketing ambassador. And if you are part of a local community involved in tourism, remember that you are the stories. You are the root of your country. You are representative of the of the identity of your country. So don't be shy. Don't be afraid to share the stories. Of course, you shouldn't share all the stories, but choosing, after choosing which story is important you want to share, you shouldn't be shy. Share them. We want to hear them, and we want to, share them even more. So welcome your narratives and your practices. I innovate our industry. We need that. We do. We really do. Thank you very much. This is all from me today. Thank you. And this is the way you can get in touch with me.
Thank you very much, Elisa. Wow. I smiled because I come from the island of Trinidad and Tobago. I currently live in Honduras, but storytelling was a way in which the multiple peoples that live on our island. It's a very cosmopolitan island. So it's one of the oral tradition was passed down, and it's something where you sit with your grandparents, and that sense of community, that is something that I I kind of missed that a bit when I came to Honduras. It was a little bit of a culture shock for me. So like you would see when I felt community in Honduras, that idea of storytelling is when it's surrounded World Cup. When it's World Cup football, Honduras is transformed. People in elevators, strangers will look at you and see your color, and it's just a whole different country in how open people are about sharing their World Cup stories, about sharing their football passion stories. It's a really amazing connector that for me as a foreigner living in the country, it's something that I personally have experienced. And I had the opportunity to work with the mosquito community. And one of the things that is sad is the loss of their stories. Seeing their community, there's a large exodus, and we also have a large number of their adults who have been um, hurt by the free diving, going to really terrible depths and not being able. So the large adult population, if they're not died out, they are either suffering from the bends, the divers illness that attacks them because they go to very very deep waters, or they're not familiar with how to manage the equipment. There have been documentaries about this. It's a reality in the sector. So you have a lot of very young people. There are lots of orphanages and lots of young people growing up like 12, 13, 14 in one little home. And these stories, the logistics continues to be a difficulty to get to the area. But those stories, it's very sad because my friends who are missionaries who helped with set up a bilingual college so that the young people would have access to go beyond primary education. They've done an amazing job, and it's in hands of the local community. So they themselves, it was a beautiful collaborative project, but there was so much ancestral knowledge that was being lost. And that's the for me, that's the heart of storytelling, the preservation of that ancestral knowledge that goes on and on. So thank you very much for sharing with us, Vienna.
My pleasure.
Yes. No, I know Elisa. I had already met with her, and I was very impressed since the first time we met. I love how she like entrelaza. I forgot the
Connects.
connects
Um,
everything. I love it that she says that the story is a community. No, it has to come from there, and it's also something that almost all the speakers have been saying. That you have to work from the community up. No, the community first. You always have to start with the community. It's not like you're gonna bring something to the community and make them change. No, it has to come from them. So there's the essence, and you said it so well, like you explained it so well, and well, the presentation was really beautiful. I loved it. Very graphic. A lot of the pictures were amazing. I like how you combine it with very like authentic and very like yeah, like the pictures, just the
Real
pictures,
life.
they are, yeah, exactly, they're like telling a story, no? So no, it's you're great. Like I learned a lot more today. And well, looking forward, we want to also make a workshop in, in further, right? Because we want to, this is just the start. So Regenera Travel, the summit is part of it, but what we're really like building is like a community of practice. And we want to connect like leaders like you, experts, like that are like minded, that are experts, that are doing things different in a better way, and really working with the communities. And we want to when the summit ends, we want to like develop some type of programs, certifications, KPIs, where we can measure, how much value we're adding to the destination, to the community, to the destination. And we want to I think education is the basis, is part of it. It's like the key. As you say, communities can learn also to share their stories, and so yeah, so we want to have these ideas lab and community of practice. And there we would like we are organizing a workshop also with Elisa, which I'm looking forward to.
Alisa,
Yeah,
I
that,
have a question.
yes, sure.
I have a question for you. Very recently, like in the last, I would say no, 3 years or so, I have been doing more active work with NGOs. And we have been seeing that, like in the budget requirements, when they ask to describe projects, I have seen that budget has been cut, funding has been cut for like book story projects or even TV or short documentary projects, which I knew in the past that these were things that were funded because you were able to come in and either get help with equipment or get help to be able to tell the story. But I don't know if it's the advent of the internet and, like, the capacity of phones now, you can capture data sometimes. But I have found that that has become a challenge for storytelling in communities, especially in communities where you don't have the equipment, like a great microphone that can help with the canceling noise or to capture
Mhm.
the quality of the images and stuff like that. Have you encountered these kinds of issues? And, like, do you have any tips or advice for young community members? Because I belong to a group of women and young girls. We work on well-being for them. I represent Team Honduras, and part of it is asking our young leaders, to share the stories of their communities, what they're doing, their community. To graduate, they have to do a community project. So it's like hearing their side of the story. And what have you encountered in terms of accessibility to equipment, and any tips about how to get around that aspect?
That's a very good question. So, yeah, to be honest, I started, just to have a an overview. I started from sustainable development myself. I started working with NGO before coming to tourism. I actually came to tourism because I see the tourism would be a space where community um, could enter and be more themselves. Right. This is like a long time. But what I'm saying is like I've been working with NGO, international NGO, but also local NGO. And in this case, since I believe the community has started to be recognized, they are being recognized as a value from the industry itself. I believe that the potential partner, more than NGO, should be the tour operators or DMC and the actual tourist board, because they also have the responsibility as a government, let's say, to provide the adequate image to the future travelers, right? We're talking about
Yeah.
destination marketing manager, like a management, and and so what I believe is I see that probably the budget of NGO has shrunk anyway a lot. And
Yeah.
it's true that the advent of the internet and the mobile phone of good quality could be probably a reason why that happened. But at the same time, I keep seeing that this is very frustrating for me, how big international projects in terms of sustainable development, they always put marketing as the least important thing. If they're supporting in a community project, they always put the marketing as like unnecessary, when actually should be the opposite. And this is what my battle goes towards, because and this includes also like equipment and everything, because if you see, marketing is not just the last thing. Of course, they need to understand how to manage and then to have financial knowledge and literacy. But equally, if they have all these but they don't have a proper marketing that they can control, we own the same story. They won't have any tourists, right? They don't have any business. So the marketing should be look look at not only as a sailing and very less important, but marketing is sharing value. If you don't empower them through the marketing, in the marketing process, you take them like you chop them their legs off because you say, okay, you great, a great project, but no one sees you. And this is the frustration it took me to become, as an anthropologist, to become a marketer, because it's what they need. So to
Yes,
respond to that frustration, say, okay, don't go to an NGO because their budget is already small. Look at the government, or look at the tour operator or the luxury industry where they already exist, that they see the value of it, because in a way or another they
Mhm.
collaborate, they might offer experiences. And this is actually what I'm trying to do in India as well, join the luxury with the community experiences, because and they have more funds to provide this kind of support for the storytelling, but on the condition that the stories are the community stories, right? Perspective. But then I say shift the, I say, yeah, this will be my quick answer to that. Of course it's complex, but also in terms
I
of
coined a term years ago. I called it social marketing, like hoping to find people who were like social marketing minded, in the sense of it's not just slapping paint on a building and providing equipment, but actually, being invested. And I know that there are some companies that try to tie their mission with what it is they're doing. But I think that, you look at it in larger industries, but it had never occurred to me before, listening to you now, that this is something that can be done, at a grassroots level with tour companies and tour guides. And really and truly, it is an amazing way to it would be an amazing way to open this industry up to so many other factors, because I know that the cinematography industry is under attack because they wanted to strip away help from that as well. There is a cinematography association, and that is one of the things that they are fighting, because um, it's one of the ways in which you preserve the history of your country. So it was very sad for me to hear that that was something that's being under attack in Honduras, and it's something that we would definitely want to be able to bring attention to, because it's through the movies, the documentaries, the pictures is how we tell the stories about what's going on. So one, wholeheartedly agree with what it is you're doing, and I have one or two projects that I can share with you after, about different things that I've been doing here in Honduras. So yeah, I would love
absolutely
to share
looking
with you.
forward to hearing that. Yeah, great. Let's join forces and to change. I believe in and innovation in the sense of change can be made. It's like
Yes.
we creature of habit. We done things a certain way, but can things always can change. It must change, because the plurality and of voices, especially, is what make our industry just richer. Just if you're looking only at the industry, but I'm looking at us as a human beings, right? So anyway, it was a pleasure. I mean, thanks for the this question and sharing comments. And yeah, looking forward to continue the conversation in the perhaps and putting together a workshop, so that to work directly with community, but also with tour operator that already work with them, to help them create a better standard in terms of ethical collaboration, ethical marketing. I think there is a lot of is collaboration that could make this stronger. It's not just working only with communities. Communities should learn, and they are learning to work with the ethical tour operator and with the government and a PR agency in a different way. But if the community come from the position of feeling inferior, culturally inferior, that is the problem. That's why I work first with them. But the whole point is like a work
Mhm.
sitting at the same table together and to
Yes.
decide new strategy. This is what I've been doing in my little world for the last 5 years full time, and then even before. But yeah, thanks for the
Exactly.
space. Thanks for the space, Vienna, because I know we had a lot of chat before this event, and we share a lot, and that's why
Yeah.
I feel very close to where we're moving. So yeah, great. So thank you.
I
Yeah,
think
I
like
love it. I love it because that way it's a way of empowering the communities. That's what you do. You empower the
But
communities
but
through the
even
story.
more is not me empowering them. It's like I always say I'm holding the mirror at them. They self empower. I always say that
True,
because
true. It's
Yes.
self empowerment.
I
Exactly.
don't
And
need
mhm,
power to give to them. They already have it, and the moment
yes,
that they realize it,
it's
things
inspiration.
changes. Yeah, I've seen this
Yes,
Yes.
in my
exactly.
in the
Beautiful.
groundwork when when they realize actually their stories are
Mhm.
important and they can tell them. Their minds say,
Yes.
"Boah, I
Yeah.
swear, I see them. I see that. Is
I
amazing."
Yes, I love it. And it's also like, I also think as you, and that's why I also dreamed since years ago to develop the tourism in Honduras, because I see so much cultural richness in this country of so many ethnic groups, native communities, and I feel they are a bit overlooked or very overlooked and repressed, and I feel my heart breaks. So to see this, so it's
yeah.
a way through tourism. I feel they, if we like help them develop products like shows, their traditional shows, then they have a way of living, a decent way of living, and they are also proud of their culture. And it's also like a way to preserve the history, the traditions,
Yes,
you say, no? So yeah, it's like a win-win. So yeah, I love how your focus. I love how you do the marketing, because I'm also a marketing person, and I love, yeah, how you have developed this like system and this kind of storytelling that focuses on the community. I think it's really brilliant, and I think it's the way to go now also, and especially
yes,
if for regenerative travel, no? So
absolutely.
I also invite the travelers, travelers, agencies, cameras, government, everyone to also register for free in our members area. You'll be able to go there and you'll see the presentations, you'll get information. We will put the links um, to her, for example, to Elisa's website, and we will share much more information. So please register to our members area and be part of the community. Let's join forces and make a positive change, as we were just talking.
Fantastic. Well done for the initiative. You are all my supporters. So I'm very happy to be
Yes.
here
Thank
today.
you so much.
Thank you, and thank you, Susanna,
Okay.
for the
Thank
Bye.
you
initiative.
very much.
Thank you so much. Have a
Um,
good day.
it
Thank
Bless
it
you.
you.
has been it has been an amazing opportunity. Wow, Vienna, 10 days. Can you believe
Yes.
from all the
Yes.
preparation, 10 days into the summit, and it's really been wonderful, and we hope that people will truly appreciate the quality and of the content that has been
And the
provided from the
speakers, the
summit.
experts, yes. Tomorrow we travel back to Central America. We'll go to Panama and to Honduras, back to Honduras, with
Awesome.
the camera tourism director of Honduras from San
The
Pedro that will be
Oh,
talking to us
the Chamber of Tourism.
Canatur, yes, the director of Canatur for San Pedro Sula will be talking to us about tourism marketing as well. And
Well,
then we have a lot of community and marketing this week, because in the morning we will be with Ray Thomas from Panama, and he will be talking about community tourism. So he has a foundation in Panama that helps also communities to and empower through tourism as well. So it's
excellent,
all
excellent.
connected.
So we have
Yes,
a lot. We have a lot to look forward to, and we invite you to keep signing up with everything that is on our screen, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank
yes.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.